But that begs the question, fine, we know the prefixes, but what are the rules? How do we really write those units? When should we use the prefixes? Okay? So once you know these rules, you will be able to rewrite the summary of that question that I presented to you, right? And you will be able to see what are the things that are wrong with it. So these are rules. Number one, with the exception of Kelvin, the unit names after individuals are not capitalized when written in full, okay? So if you want to write Joule in full, you're not going to make this J to be uppercase. Now you may say, hey, is that really that important? Yes. This is part of your communications. As an engineer, you need to be able to communicate properly. Okay, if you don't communicate properly, bad things happen. How many of you have heard about the incidents where Mars Climate Orbiter was lost because the impulse was not reported in correct units? You've heard about that, right? So the impulse was not reported. The Mars Climate Orbiter was supposed to go into the climate of the Mars, but it actually got burned or crashed. We don't know what really happened to it. It was lost. NASA gave up because there were multiple teams working on the mission control, and the impulse, which has a unit of force times time, was reported as a number without providing the unit. And the guys who received the number assumed that it was in USGS system while it was actually in SI system. So they didn't really report the unit. It was assumed to be in the USGS system. And for the forces, there is a factor of 4.45 for the force that is used to do conversion from SI to USGS system for the forces. Okay? And it was that factor that was responsible for its loss. See, a very stupid and trivial mistake on the unit costed billions of dollars to the country, right? So, it's a classic example of, why you should write your units and why you should write them properly, because it's part of the communication. And if you don't communicate properly, then first of all, you don't come across as an intelligent engineer. Second, you could cause irreparable damages to the companies and organization you work for. So, Joule, Pascal, Watt, all of these you can see written in lowercase, except when you are abbreviating them, then you can write them in uppercase, right? So capital N, capital W, and Pascal as PA. Don't use prefix for numerical values between 0.1 and 1,000. So if you have a value between 0.1 and 1,000, just write it like that. If you're more than 1,000, less than 0.1, use the prefix. So if you want to write, let's say, a 1 followed by 6 zeros, instead of writing that, write 1 megawatt, okay? Or anything larger than that. For fractional quantities, apply prefix to the numerator. So kilonewton per meter is 10 power 3 newton per meter, which numerically would be same as newton slash millimeter, because millimeter is 10 power minus 3. So it goes in the denominator, becomes 10 power 3. But instead of putting the prefixes to the numerator, always put the prefixes to the numerator. Don't write units in plural form while abbreviating. So when you're abbreviating, don't write 5, if you want to write 5 kilograms, don't write 5 kgs. Why? Because if you put S over there, people might think you're writing kilograms second. S might be construed as the short form for second. Dimension in SI units are written in lowercase, exception units named after individuals, which we have seen in point number 1. So when you write kilogram, you write 5 kg, where everything is lowercase, not capital K and small g, right? 2 meters, not 2 uppercase m meters. What about 5 kilograms? Is that okay? What about this? Can we write 5 kilograms like that? Yes, that's fine, right? Because you're not abbreviating. So you see, you're not abbreviating, you can write like this. So this is the same as something like this. So meters is fine. Don't use mathematical operations on unit names, right? So this was another thing that I think was done probably in that summary. So when you are actually writing everything using full words, don't use abbreviation. You're not using abbreviation, then don't use mathematical operations. So when you want to write joule per kilogram, write joule per kilogram, but if you're abbreviating, then you use a mathematical operation. So J slash kg is okay, or J times kg power minus 1 is okay, although you don't see that also much. But don't do this, right? So here you're mixing mathematical operations, which is slash with the unit names written in full, or something like this. So that's also not allowed. Right? So it's very simple rules, but if we look at them, you memorize them, you practice them on a few problems, you'll have no issues whatsoever. And these are the kinds of things that are best learned at this level, because in future, you probably won't see this again. And this is sort of the good habits that if you form now in your early career, they'll stick with you. Okay, a few examples. So look at this. Anything wrong with this? 5 sec, 2 cc, 3 MPS?
Units should either be written in full or the symbol.
Or the symbol. So sec is not right. You can't say 5 sec. It should be either 5s or it should be seconds. 2 cc. cc is not an accepted acronym, accepted abbreviation. So it should be either 2 centimeter cube like that or 2 cubic centimeters. 3 amperes, we don't know what you were trying to say. It's maybe meters per second. If it is meters per second, then you should say 3m/s if you're abbreviating it, or write in full, meters per second. You had a question? Or you were trying to answer?
Yeah,
okay. Okay. All right, maybe the next one. Length is equal to 75 centimeters. Anything wrong with this? Right, so we can't abbreviate in the plural form, so if you have to write it like this, or you write 75 centimeters in full. The bar is 75 centimeter long. Anything wrong with that? I'm abbreviating the centimeter. There's nothing wrong with that. I can write that.
You don't need a period.
You don't need a period. You don't need a period after the CM, right? And a lot of times we do that, right? We put a period just like that because periods come for free. You can put them anywhere you want. Yeah. So no periods, right? So you say either the length of the bar is 75 centimeter, you just rephrase it, or you say the bar is 75 centimeter long. I think the first one is better phrase-wise. What's wrong with any of these? Mixing mathematical operations on the full name, right? That's what's wrong with these. So if you want to write this, either write that, or any of these things, that would be okay, right? What's wrong with this? 5 newtons or 5 ns? Should be lowercase, right? It should be lowercase, or you can, if you want to write it in uppercase, you basically write it in full, right? Okay, all right, so we'll do the dimensional verification in the next class.